The 1964 United States 5-cent coin, commonly known as the Jefferson Nickel, holds a very important place in American numismatic history because it represents the last year in which the U.S. Mint produced this denomination in such massive quantities during the early 1960s. The 5-cent coin had been featuring President Thomas Jefferson since 1938, when it replaced the famous Buffalo nickel. Designed by Felix Schlag, the obverse of the coin carries a left-facing portrait of Jefferson, the third President of the United States and principal author of the Declaration of Independence, while the reverse proudly displays Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia estate, symbolizing his deep connection to American democracy and architecture. By 1964, this design had already been in circulation for more than 25 years and was a familiar sight in American commerce. The year 1964 was particularly significant for U.S. coinage because of the nationwide coin shortage that arose in the early 1960s. The U.S. Mint reported that demand for coins exceeded supply, partly due to the booming American economy, population growth, and the increasing use of vending machines and coin-operated devices. As a response, the government ordered an unprecedented production of nickels in 1964, leading to one of the highest mintage totals in history for the denomination. Nearly 2.8 billion Jefferson nickels were struck between the Philadelphia and Denver mints in that year alone, making the 1964 nickel one of the most widely produced coins in American history. This huge mintage was meant to address shortages and prevent the hoarding of coins by the public, which had become a real issue during that decade. In terms of composition, the 1964 nickel retained the traditional 75% copper and 25% nickel alloy, which had been standard for the denomination since 1866. This was unlike other American coins of the mid-1960s, such as dimes and quarters, which were about to lose their silver content due to rising silver prices. Thus, while 1964 represents a turning point for many U.S. coins, the nickel maintained its copper-nickel composition, reinforcing its role as a practical, everyday coin of commerce. Collectors often view the 1964 nickel as a bridge between two eras, the end of an age of traditional U.S. coinage that contained precious metals and the beginning of a fully modern era dominated by base metal coinage. From a numismatic perspective, the 1964 Jefferson nickel is common in circulated condition due to the massive mintage, but certain varieties and conditions are considered more valuable. For example, collectors pay attention to distinctions such as the full steps variety, in which the steps of Monticello on the reverse are sharply struck and fully visible. Because most 1964 nickels were produced quickly to meet high demand, many examples lack fine detail, making sharply struck specimens especially prized by collectors today. Additionally, coins struck at the Denver Mint bear a small D mintmark on the reverse, while those struck at the Philadelphia Mint carry no mintmark. Both mints together contributed to the record-breaking output of that year. The historical importance of the 1964 5-cent coin also lies in its connection to the political climate of the time. President Lyndon B. Johnson's administration was facing public concern over coin shortages, and the mint's efforts in 1964 were part of a broader program to restore confidence in America's coinage system. To further discourage hoarding and speculation, Congress even passed measures that temporarily froze the dates on coins, meaning that for a time only coins dated 1964 were issued, even into 1965 and 1966. This makes the 1964 nickel not only a coin but also a representation of economic policy and public trust in the U.S. monetary system during a period of change. Today, the 1964 Jefferson nickel continues to circulate, though many have long since worn down through decades of use. It is often the first vintage coin young collectors encounter because it is still found in pocket change. Its historical background is the last massively produced pre-1965 nickel, combined with its link to America's mid-20th century economic challenges, makes it a fascinating study in numismatics. Whether held for sentimental value, collected for its varieties, or studied for its economic significance, the 1964 U.S. 5-cent coin remains an enduring symbol of American history, Jefferson's legacy, and the resilience of the nation's coinage system. The 1963 United States 5-cent coin, more commonly known as the Jefferson Nickel, is part of the long-running coin series that began in 1938 and continues to the present day. Designed by sculptor Felix Schlag, the Jefferson nickel was created to honor the third President of the United States, Thomas Jefferson, who authored the Declaration of Independence and played a key role in shaping the nation's early democratic values. The coin replaced the earlier Buffalo nickel, which had been in circulation from 1913 to 1938. By the year 1963, the Jefferson nickel had already become one of the most recognizable and widely used coins in American commerce, reflecting both stability and continuity in U.S. coinage history. The obverse front of the 1963 nickel displays a left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, with the word, "Liberty," inscribed along the rim, followed by the year 1963. Above Jefferson's head appears the motto, "In God We Trust," which has been a traditional inscription on American coinage symbolizing the country's reliance on divine providence. Schlag's design portrays Jefferson with a dignified expression, meant to capture his intellectual strength and leadership qualities. The reverse back of the coin features a detailed image of Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia estate, with the word, Monticello, inscribed beneath the image. Surrounding the design are the inscriptions, E pluribus unum, Latin for, out of many, one, United States of America, and the denomination, 5 cents. This dual focus on Jefferson's profile and his home represents his personal legacy and contributions to American life. The 1963 5-cent coin holds particular historical importance because it was struck during the final years of an era in which U.S. coins retained their traditional metal content before widespread changes began to take place in the mid-1960s. The Jefferson nickel of 1963 was made of a copper-nickel alloy, specifically 75% copper and 25% nickel, a composition that has remained largely unchanged since the introduction of the series in 1938. Unlike the silver dimes, quarters, and half dollars of that period, the nickel contained no precious metal, making it less prone to hoarding when silver prices began to rise later in the decade. The coin had a weight of 5 grams and a diameter of 21.2 millimeters, making it a durable and practical piece for everyday transactions. In terms of mintage, the 1963 nickel was produced in very large quantities to meet the growing needs of an expanding U.S. economy. Production took place at both the Philadelphia Mint without a mint mark and the Denver Mint with a D mint mark. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 175 million pieces, while the Denver Mint produced over 276 million coins, making the total mintage well over 450 million nickels for that year alone. This massive production ensured that the coin was widely circulated and accessible to nearly every American household. Because of the large numbers produced, the 1963 Jefferson nickel is not considered rare in circulated condition, though high-grade uncirculated examples and proof versions hold greater value for collectors today. The proof versions of the 1963 nickel were struck at the Philadelphia Mint and packaged in special sets for collectors. These proof coins were carefully polished and struck multiple times to ensure sharp detail and mirror-like surfaces. At that time, proof sets were growing increasingly popular among coin enthusiasts, and the 1963 issue marked one of the last years before the U.S. Mint underwent major changes in coinage production methods. Today, proof nickels from 1963, especially those graded at the highest levels, can command significant premiums due to their beauty and scarcity in perfect condition. From a historical perspective, the 1963 nickel circulated during a period of transition in American society. The early 1960s were marked by the presidency of John F. Kennedy, the Cold War, civil rights struggles, and rapid cultural shifts. In many ways, coins like the 1963 nickel acted as silent witnesses to the everyday lives of Americans, passing through the hands of workers, students, shopkeepers, and families. The nickel bought newspapers, bus rides, candies, and countless small necessities. Its steady presence in commerce reflected the economic growth of the post-war years and the optimism of a nation on the brink of major social change. Collectors value the 1963 Jefferson nickel not only for its design and connection to Jefferson's legacy but also as part of the larger narrative of U.S. coinage. While it may not be as rare or valuable as some earlier issues, the 1963 coin represents the continuity of a series that has endured for decades. It also occupies a special place as one of the last pre-1965 coins struck before the Coinage Act of 1965, which eliminated silver from dimes and quarters and led to significant changes in U.S. coin production. The nickel's unchanged composition allowed it to remain a constant presence even as other coins transformed. In summary, the 1963 United States 5-cent coin, Jefferson Nickel, is more than just a piece of metal. It is a reflection of American history, design, and culture during the early 1960s. From Felix Schlag's timeless design honoring Jefferson and Monticello, to its massive mintage and role in daily commerce, the coin remains a tangible connection to an important era in U.S. history. Collectors and historians alike see it as a symbol of continuity in American coinage, as well as a witness to the social and political currents of its time. Even today, more than half a century later, the 1963 Jefferson Nickel stands as a meaningful reminder of the nation's enduring traditions and evolving story.